We have a wonderful journalist with us today. You've heard her voice many times. She has done the middle distance for a long time on KRCC. She's been a storyteller here at the Story Project, and we are honored and blessed to have her back, Kathryn Eastburn. Good luck with this, man.
That's okay. We sing in very small spaces.
Okay.
So it's interesting how many of these stories have mentioned singing tonight. I think maybe every single one. These are my friends and fellow singers from the Pikes Peak Threshold Singers. And we're going to begin with a song, then I'm going to tell my story, and then we're going to end with a song with all of you joining us. Okay? So, come on, you guys. We've sung in smaller spaces than this. Great. So, we sing from a specifically designed repertoire of almost 300 songs that are all written specifically for what's sometimes referred to as moments of transition. But mostly we sing for people who are dying and at bedside. So this is one of our songs. It's called We Sing, and we wanted to sing it because it expresses why we do what we do. We sing for the healing it brings. We sing for the peace it bestows. We sing for the bridge it establishes between here and where we want to go. We sing for the healing it brings. We sing for the peace it bestows. We sing for the bridge it establishes between here and where we want to go. So, I guess I should begin by telling you how I found this group. I honestly can't remember when it was. I believe it was in the fall of 2010. And I was in a very, very dark place. I had buried 4 beloved, close family members in a 3-year period, including a son and a nephew and a sister and the father of my children. And I was at the Dogtooth coffee shop one day, and on the bulletin board was a little notice, a little flyer, and it said, "Do you like to sing? Would you like to sing with us?" And it had kind of that sort of generic language, you know,
singing at moments of transition or something like that, but it was called the Pikes Peak Threshold Singers. And I love to sing, and singing had really gotten me through a lot of the previous couple of years, and I had written a book about singing, about a different kind of singing, and during the period of time when that book came out, I was going to singings, and I found that no matter what was going on, that singing always helped. Not just me, but all of the other people who were involved. So I called these people many months later. Actually, I called them immediately and said, yeah, I want to do that. But it took me many months to actually get around to doing it. And two of them are here, Doris and Sally. And you know, I called them and said, yes, I want to do that, and then life became overwhelming, and I forgot that I said I was going to do it, but I kept their numbers. You know how that is when something is really important to you and you have it on a little tiny slip of paper and you keep sticking it back in the notebook and back in the calendar, and you don't ever lose it, and you keep hanging on to it because somehow you know it's important. And so I knew this was something I wanted to do, even though I didn't really know what it was. So finally, I made it eventually to a rehearsal, and it was a small group, and found that this is something that happens all over the United States. It started on the West Coast about 20 years ago with a wonderful singer-songwriter named Kate Munger, who in 1990 was attending to a dear friend who was dying of HIV/AIDS, and actually she was cleaning his house earlier in the day, but in the second half of the day she sang for him. And she realized that it made a huge impact. This was someone who was in a coma, was very near death, but it was very agitated. And she could see that he responded to her singing. And so she spent a great deal of time thinking about this thing and how can we do this? How can we, offer this as a service for people? And her first groups were in California, in the Bay Area, and this was around 2000, and she had thought a lot about it, and she's a great songwriter. So the first groups began there, and sometimes they would sing in homes, at someone's home, if someone was ill or someone had died or was close to death, sometimes in nursing homes, sometimes at hospice. And this idea spread naturally. Because I think, this idea of repairing the world, which, thank you, Sharon, for bringing that term to us, because I think one of two things happens. Either we find a way to go out and express ourselves in the world and we are repaired, or perhaps we help someone else repair their experience of something that's happening that's not necessarily considered to be great or wonderful or beautiful. But we sing, my group and I, we sing in trios. We sing every Thursday and Saturday morning at Pikes Peak Hospice. And we go into the patients' rooms. We first sit down and we prepare ourselves because this is not spontaneous. This is not just something we just sort of go out and do. We've learned some important lessons from our mentors, and especially from Kate Munger. And I think they apply to all of the work that any of us go out and do in the world, not just to working among the dying. But one of them, one of the things that Kate has said is, leave your tears outside the door. Because it's really not about us and how we're feeling. It's about crossing the threshold into a room where there might be a large family gathered around a loved one. There may be a dying person alone. And it's up to us to leave our egos and everything else outside the door and evaluate each time we walk in what's needed at this particular moment. And it's very challenging, and it's incredibly rewarding. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I always have the experience of people saying to me, well, how can you do that without, like starting crying, in the middle of it? And it's the oddest thing. I never feel sad in the room. Maybe afterward, but not in the moment, because I think that what we are doing is bringing a song, bringing a moment of connection and joy at the very, very end of someone's life. And it's different in every single room that we go into. Everyone responds differently. Sometimes, we don't just walk in unless we are invited to be there. So we check to make sure that people want music as one of their so-called complementary therapies at the end of their life. And if they don't, of course, we don't go. But if they've said they do, we go and we knock on the door and we see what's going on in there. And we have a certain number of songs that we're comfortable singing together. And we have a volunteer leader who makes a decision about which song to sing. And our songs are mostly, I guess the common themes are comfort and peace and comfort and peace. We have a lot of those. And they're wonderful songs. They're very simple. Each one of them is either a song like the one that we just sang that's written in 3-part harmony, or they're rounds, in which case we can just continue singing them as long as we need to in that particular setting. But people all respond differently, and we never know what we're going to see when we walk in the door. And sometimes we walk in and the normal, most expected situation would be we would walk in and someone is 85 years old or 90 years old, or in one case 97 years old, and his brother, who was 2 years older than him, had just died a few weeks before, so now he was ready. And sometimes people want an upbeat song, and so we'll try to provide that for them. Sometimes people will say something like, do you know any patriotic songs? So, we'll pull out America the Beautiful, or, whatever we can manage on the spot. We try to be very careful and respectful of everyone's different or faith or non-faith traditions. Sometimes people ask us to sing hymns. One time someone asked us, do we know any country? Did we know Hank Williams? And so we did I Saw the Light. Pretty spontaneously. I think we, maybe went through it once, but it's great because then we'll add that, to our repertoire in case that happens again in the future. Sometimes people respond, sometimes people are not responsive at all. Sometimes people really are actively dying when we go in. And we usually know that because the nurses have told us that. And often, pretty often we will go in and someone is at the very, very, very end of their life and struggling, not struggling, but doing the, kind of breathing that people do at the ends of their lives. And we sing over that, and we sing above the sound of that, and we always just assume that somewhere in there, people are hearing us. I've been in rooms with you guys before where a husband or a wife or a child of a dying person would say, oh, she can't hear anything, but she can hear music. And so we sing. And sometimes someone will respond just with a little tiny movement of one of their toes or one of their feet that lets us know that they know we're there. And sometimes people will be sleeping and they'll wake up while we're singing. And sometimes people thank us. And one time we sang, and a woman who was quite alert but very near death said to us, what did she say? I've been waiting for this all week. I've been waiting for this moment all week, and looked us all straight in the eye. Talk about inspiration. It's really, really great. But it's hard, it's difficult. And like I said, I think my personal feeling is that I am more repaired by this experience than the people who are on the receiving end of it. But I also understand the value for them. So what I would ask you to do right now, because I want you to understand what this experience is like, I want you to just sort of close your eyes and let me walk you into a few people's rooms to give you an idea of what we might see on a Thursday or a Saturday as we're walking down the halls of Pikes Peak Hospice. So picture this. You're in a hospital hallway, and you come to the door, and you know that the person inside who is near death is just a few days old. And there's a curtain drawn between the door and between the parents who are attending their child in a crib who will have a very short life. And they want a song, but we don't want to go beyond that curtain. We don't want to intrude on the last minutes that they have with their baby. And so we stand outside the curtain and we sing a song that's part of our repertoire about angels. about so many angels all around me. And we hope that it will bring some comfort to these parents. And we don't really know because we don't really see them face to face, but we sing to them and then we walk out the door and then we go to the next door. And in that door, inside that door, we walk in and we see a very, very old woman who is very quiet, and her eyes are closed, and her daughters are all around her, and they've put a quilt from home over her, and there are flowers all around her, and there's a photograph of her with her husband from the 1940s when she was young, beautiful, and fashionable, and everyone in the room is attending her passing and waiting for her passing. And they might say to us, she was a singer. And so we'll find a song in our repertoire that speaks to her love of music or singing, and we'll find a way to communicate that. And her family thanks us as we leave, and then we move on to the next room. And in the next room we find a woman who looks to be about our age, in her 50s. And we know that she's dying of lung cancer. And she asks us to sing, but halfway through our song, she puts her hands up and says, "No more. Stop. It's too much." And so we thank her and we leave. And then we go into the next room where there's a beautiful woman in her 40s who's struggling to breathe, and her husband is next to her holding her hands, and she has a hard time speaking, but he tells us how much she loved to sing, and that singing was her favorite pastime. And when she hears that, and when she knows that we're there, she wants to sing with us. And she knows what song she wants us to sing. And it's not one of our songs. And it takes her probably 3 to 4 minutes to struggle, to gather her breath, and to say to us, the song I want is "Leaving on a Jet Plane." And none of us has ever thought of "Leaving on a Jet Plane" as a threshold song before, but all of a sudden it becomes the perfect threshold song. And we begin singing it, and miraculously we remember all the verses, and she sings along with us. And it's very difficult for her, and she is so gratified and so pleased and so happy that she got to sing "Leaving on a Jet Plane" one more time. And then we continue down the hall, and we might come across more sleeping people. We might come across more elderly people. We most recently came across a 25-year-old, a young man who had a massive brain injury, and whose mother was there with him. And she was in such distress, she could barely, well, she didn't when I was there, she didn't speak to us, she just gestured to us, like kind of a nod, sort of a yes, please sing, it would be helpful. And so we sing, and she cradles her son's head and looks down into his face and just it feels as if we could stay there and sing all day long. And it might help this woman get through one more day, attending to her boy until he passes. And the next week, or the next 3 days later, or 2 days later, we come and he's still there, but he's changed. He's closer to death. And other family members are with him. And we know that somehow or other, and I can't explain how, singing with that family has repaired all of us. And you know, the thing I've learned from doing this is, as much as we all fear death, and we all do, and we're all going to, even more than that, I think we fear our own grief. We fear loss and grieving. And this experience is so remarkable because it makes so clear the message that everyone is experiencing loss and everyone is grieving at some level. And we just happen to be lucky enough to be among people who are in the most intense experience of that. And what comes to mind for me is a question that comes from, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know who said this, but it was a very, very long time ago, like maybe in the 14th century. Some wise person said, "Will you ever know how near God is?" And I have to say, when I'm in that room, I do know. It's this close. It's right there. It's in the moment. It doesn't matter which God. It doesn't matter, what you call him or her, but it's there. And one of the ways that our songs often refer to it as is as light. Not as God, but as light. And so the song that we want to end with is called "I Am Sending You Light." And it's a very, very simple round, and we're going to lead you in it. So we're going to divide you up, roughly, and we want you to sing along. You can learn it in 5 seconds, and we'll sing it until we're done. Okay? So, come on, you guys. Who wrote that? Melanie Dumour wrote this song. And this is, we always sing this song. Very, that's not the right word. It's an appropriate one, very often. So let's say, everybody from the pole here over, sing with Annie and Dee, okay? And everybody here in the middle, sing with Carol and Doris. Oh, there are only 2 of you on the other side. That's okay. Sally and Carolyn are going to add harmony. It's a 2-part round. So if we sing approximately in halves, and then whoever wants to jump up to the higher part, you'll hear it coming from Sally and Carolyn, and you can sing with them. And you won't believe it. It's a simple little song, but it gets big really fast. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love. I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you